Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome back to my studio. But don't get too comfy. We are flying off to my new studio, the Owl's Nest. I had the opportunity to rent this space in downtown Crystal Falls, and I jumped on it. So I have opened up a new little shop and studio in the historic part of our town, right on Superior Avenue, and it has been a dream come true. So today I'm going to take you on the journey of where this space started and where it is now. This is the front of my little storefront. And this all started, that's my daughter under the little table there. This all started back in August when I had the opportunity to rent, and I just said, yes, I'll take it, and I'll figure the rest out later. So in September, I began moving in and started cleaning first and then making some changes. I decided to paint that green part of the wall to my kind of signature peachy color. That was one of the first things we decided to do. So that's what I'm doing here. And one of the first things I did before painting was I did go and thrift a couple pieces of furniture. I got a table, and then in that photo you saw before, a kind of white standing and turning shelf, which was really cool. So I went to our Restore, which is like a really cool Habitat for Humanity type place where you can get used furniture. And I picked up those two pieces because I knew I was going to need something to set tools and things on to even begin working in this space. At this point in the journey, I wasn't exactly sure what this space was going to be at that time. I was trying to let it happen organically and slowly because I didn't have a lot of finances to throw at this, so I had to thrift things and I had to do everything on the cheap. But then things just kind of picked up really quickly, and I actually had my first kind of soft opening this last weekend on a Saturday. So it's a fully realized shop at this point. But at this point, in my head, I was just thinking, this just needs to be a working studio. And here I have my little studio assistant helping. She helped me paint and clean and get things ready to go. She was very excited about this opportunity as well, to have our own little space on the big hill of our town where all of the cool businesses are. So we were very excited to be here, and she loved helping. So after getting some of those main cleaning and paint jobs done, I had to bring in my first couple of paintings because in my head, that officially made this an art studio. So here's a little peek at how that finished peachy wall turned out. And then I painted that thrifted table. I painted the legs purple to match another signature color of mine, the kind of peach and purples. And this is kind of how things are looking at this point. I put my table back up, and now I officially had a workspace where I could make art. And in my head, like I said, I needed some paintings in this space for it to actually feel like an art studio and a working space for me. So I took the time, I took like a week or so, it might have been more than that. It's all running together in my head at this point, but I had to get some paintings made. So I made, I think, 3 paintings, and I was really happy with how they turned out. And I used them to sort of decorate that peachy half wall that I painted. That way this space felt like mine. It felt like an art studio. It made me feel a little bit less like an imposter. And the owner, the lovely Maureen at the Twisted Twig, who I'm renting from, she kept telling people to go peek in the window because everyone was like, what's going in there right now? What's going on? What is that? And she's like, go peek in the window. It's going to be an art studio. And so I just, in my head, I needed to get some paintings up so that people would actually look in and say, oh yeah, okay, there's art in there. So as I work on some of this brand new art to put in my brand new studio, let me tell you a couple stories. So right after saying yes to this opportunity, which felt scary and terrifying and impossible, I had something really cool happen that felt like the universe was just saying like, yep, this was the right thing. Keep going, keep going, keep going. I started looking on Facebook Marketplace for furniture to put in here. But instead, I stumbled upon a listing for art studio supplies. And I was just kind of thinking like, this is too good to be true. What are you talking about? But it was a man who was in his 90s that was, he had lost his vision, and he was selling off everything that he used to teach art classes. He taught the Bob Ross method, which I thought was super awesome. And this was only 30 minutes from my home, and I went, and it was incredible. He had so many canvases and brushes and paints and all of these things that he was selling for a fraction of what they were worth, and I was able to outfit my art making part of this studio for very, very little. And I felt super, super blessed to have stumbled upon that, and it just felt like crazy timing for that to have worked out like that. So all of this, the canvases that I'm working on right now are from him. A lot of the brushes that I'm using are from him. And yeah, I had some of my own stuff, but to be able to fully outfit a studio with all of these brand new materials from him was just so wonderful and amazing. And now I actually feel like I can also teach classes with these things because I have plenty. I don't have to worry about using my own personal supplies to teach classes. So it just worked out so beautifully and so magically, and it just felt right. So I kept going, I kept pushing. And so even though in my head I was like, this is only going to be my working art studio for now, I didn't feel like I was good enough to have a shop or a teaching space of my own just yet. And then all of those thoughts slowly started melting away over the next month, and things blossomed so much bigger than I was imagining or was letting myself imagine in the beginning. Another thing that started to happen more frequently at this time was I was getting more and more wholesale orders for my products, my coloring books, my bookmarks, my stickers, and I started to realize that if all of these shops all over the United States and even one in the UK, I think there are about 22 of them now, if they can order my products to sell in their shop and they're happy with them and they're doing it, and I even have some that have come back and already reordered, if they can do it, then I can do it too. If they can sell my things to their customers in a physical location, then so can I. I've been selling online for years and years and years, so this is the next right step, and it feels really good, and it feels good to believe in myself too and take this giant leap. But yeah, making all of those wholesale orders was another big realization to me that those brick and mortars were doing it, and the Twisted Twig carries my art, and she sells quite a bit of it in our town here as well, and so I can do it too. So once I started getting a lot more serious about this, I spent even more time in my evenings on Facebook Marketplace and thrifting sites and trying to find more furniture, and visiting local thrift stores and the Restore again. I don't know how many times I've been back there. And unfortunately, I just was struggling to find any more used furniture that was going to work for creating the shopping spaces or the retail shelves at this point. So I eventually broke down and I did buy 2 new pieces of furniture because unfortunately for the price, it was a fraction of the cost to buy something brand new than to buy used things, which is just super sad to me. I wish I could have bought all used stuff, but like I said, financially I was trying to do this in the most affordable way, and unfortunately the new things cost so much less than the used, which is very surprising to me. So along with all of these giant physical tasks of setting up the space and whatnot, I also had to do the administrative side, which is setting up the business. So I set up a separate LLC for this space, and I had to decide on a name, and I just kept coming back to this idea of the owl's nest and it being the home of the swimming owl. So my illustration and art business is called The Swimming Owl, which you I'm sure probably already know. So it just felt natural for this space, this physical location, to be called the Owl's Nest. So I've got now the LLC set up with the DBA and all of this stuff. So I had to go through and do all of that difficult mind altering administrative stuff. It's not fun, but it is doable. I did most of it completely on my own. So it just took some researching and making sure I was doing it correctly, but took up a lot of brain power while doing all of this. But it definitely makes you feel super capable at the end when you get it all done and figured out, and all of my stuff was coming in the mail, and my sales tax paper came in the mail, and you just feel good when you get that stuff done. And so that was all happening in the background as well. And once all of that official paperwork started showing up, I gave myself even more permission or more allowance to invest just a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more to make this space an actual shop. And so I started researching other things that I would need in here. So things to display my products, and even getting some wholesale art supplies so that I could sell them along with my coloring books and other products so people could create an entire gift. And here's a view of my sweet little puppy, by the way. Side note, she's been coming into the studio with me. I've been trying to get her used to the space. And over there you're seeing a painted arch that I put on the wall to kind of highlight my stickers and greeting cards. I brought in a baker's rack from home. This was a piece that I thrifted from my own furniture at home. A little table over there in the corner from my mom and dad. Thank you for donating to the space. And I started bringing in more artwork and more products. I brought in a display of my bookmarks and original paintings, so that way this space was starting to have more and more things that made it feel like a shop. So that was the beginning stages of it becoming a shop, and it changed around quite a bit more after that, but gave you a little peek. So I finally allowed myself to order some things, and while I was waiting for all of those fun things to arrive, I just kept plugging away at these paintings that I wanted to get up on the walls. After selling one of my original paintings in the Twisted Twig over the summer, it just like lit a fire underneath me and made me realize that I could do this. And so I could make these original paintings and they would sell. They may not sell to people exactly in my town, but when we have people visiting during our tourism season, I do think I can sell these. Like, I think I can do it. Like that was what gave me the audacity to go after this and to just give it my best shot. So on the days that I was not in this studio working on these paintings, I was also at home prepping products to bring into this space. Things like printing out and packaging greeting cards and laminating bookmarks and ordering more stickers and packaging up original watercolor paintings. Here are those 2 paintings, by the way, all finished. And then things started coming in the mail, like these floating shelves. And originally I tried hanging them up with those like sticky Scotch strips that you're supposed to be able to hang a couple pounds on the wall with. Yeah, well, that didn't work. The next day I came in and these shelves were all on the floor. So I ended up having to go back to using screws, which I didn't want to have to do, but these will be sturdier now in the long run. So here you go, see? Full transparency here. I'll show you all of the ups and downs. And to soothe our woes, we can look at our sweet little shop puppy, Ketzy. She'll make us feel better. By the way, this couch that's here, this was actually the owner's, and they were just looking for a place to put it, and then they removed it. So that couch is no longer in here. Here's a look at the final arch with the floating shelves. I think it turned out so cute. And a little view of some of the stickers that are going to be in here. These are also all available in my online shops, by the way, so you can go check out my Etsy if you'd like one of these. Pretty much everything that's in my shop is also going to be in my online shops as well. Not the art supplies at this moment, but original watercolor bookmarks, the printed laminated bookmarks, all of that kind of stuff is also in my online shop. So this is like a big extension of those online shopping spaces, just in person. I was also very excited this day because I finally got a sink. Yay! Thank you, Mark and Maureen, for putting that in for me. Having an art studio without a functioning sink was really difficult for the first bit, so once I finally got it in, I was so excited. Then I came up with this really cute idea to hang my original watercolor sun catchers on the baker's rack using little S-hooks, and I think that turned out super cute because the sunlight catches them. Then here's my brother helping me assemble that shelf right there on the wall, the one that I ordered. Couldn't find anything like that in the thrift stores, so I just bought one. Luckily it was very inexpensive, and my brother was an excellent builder, so thank you, Jeffrey. Here's another look at how things are evolving as I start to fill up the shelves and put some of my artwork on them and make it feel more like a whimsical shopping experience. These shelves have now filled up really fast, and now I'm on the hunt for a table to put in the middle of the room as another shopping area. here is the counter that I ordered to put my square stand or my, my hardware on so that I can actually check people out, and I'll have bags and things underneath there and kind of administrative things in that counter. And then I decided it was time to officially make my front door sign. This really started to make me feel excited and nervous all at the same time. By putting a sign on the door, it felt monumental and like there's no going back now. Once you put your name on the door, people officially see that you're there. Like, I don't know if that makes any sense to anyone else, but that was what my brain was telling me. Once I put this on the door, you're in it now, baby. So to make my sign, I actually used one of the paint palettes that I got from the man that was selling all of his art studio supplies. He gave me a ton of paint. Well, I bought a ton of paint palettes from him, and I used one of them to make my front door sign and the sign that I put outside on the sidewalk. I just thought that was like the perfect use because I had so many that I got from him, and it looked so cute and just fit the vibe. So I painted it first with acrylic paint, and then I used my paint pens to do the actual lettering. And then I varnished it to keep it nice and safe, and it turned out really, really cute in my opinion. Let me know what you think. And then I also made a little open-closed sign that hangs from the bottom of it. My dad had a piece of spare cutting board, actually, that I then just painted over and lettered open and closed onto it so I can flip that around when I'm inside. And I just think it turned out so precious and a perfect fit to use a paint palette as the sign. And then, just in case anyone ever wants to try this themselves, to plan this out, I actually took a picture of the palette and then pulled it into my iPad into the app Procreate, and I planned out the lettering and everything on there first, and then I drew that plan onto the palette with a erasable crayon, like a water-soluble crayon first, and then I could wipe it away if it didn't have the right placement and go do it again and again as many times as I needed to before actually painting with the acrylic markers on the top. So just to give you a little pro tip on how to do something like this, I made a plan digitally and then put the sketch on with a little piece of water-soluble crayon, or you could use chalk, and then you go over the top of that when you're ready to make it permanent. And here is the finished sign for the most part. Mine is the open and closed part. And here it looks on my door, so cute. I do end up painting this door green. You'll see that in a little bit as well. The next thing I wanted to do was paint my windows. I wanted to put something really cute and magical on the windows. So it actually took me quite a while to figure out how I wanted to do these window paintings because I've never really done something like that before. I knew I needed the painting to be on the inside due to like weather and everything, and I wanted to be able to change it like whenever I wanted to, and we're heading into winter, and so the easiest way to do that is to paint on the inside. Now, if I were going to paint in color, I would have to do the whole process backwards. So the top layers would have to be done first, then middle layers. Like, it was melting my brain to think about trying to paint like that. So instead, I decided to keep it fairly simple for this first round of window painting, and I just did a simple white whimsical outline, kind of like a coloring book style, which fits my theme, right? So I did some white flowers and mushrooms and stars. And the way I did this was I created a sketch for myself on this roll of paper. So I planned it out. I measured the size of the window, cut the paper to fit that length, and then I taped it to the outside of the window. I went outside, taped it up, and then I came back inside and painted over that sketch that's actually outside the window, which is kind of confusing to think about, but I am just using white acrylic paint and a brush, and then also a white acrylic paint pen. And between those two things, this worked out really nicely. I was able to make the lines thicker where I wanted them to and thinner where I wanted, and I just was really happy with this whole process. It was actually fairly easy after I figured out my mechanics of how I was gonna make it work. So in the future, I think I will make these things larger and taller because after looking from the outside, they're kind of short and you can't see them. They're a little bit smaller than I was planning for, but I used the size of the paper that I had instead of doubling up to make it taller. I just used one strip for this first go at it. Again, I was learning. This is a learning process. So for the next time, I'll make it larger, taller, etc. And then I also want to add really fun, inspiring, encouraging, uplifting quotes in the window. I want to change them out every once in a while, but just kind of make it like an inspiring message to people that might need to see it or hear it. And I'll change it out, and so it'll also be kind of a talking point. People might be like, oh, what did she write this time? Right? So yeah, that's the plan. So for now, it's just these really cute kind of coloring book style illustrations that I think turned out really cute and whimsical. Definitely got people curious about what I was doing, which also helped. It was kind of some free marketing or publicity, you could say, because people were curious on why I was blocking off the windows on the outside and what was going on. So if you have any really good tips for window painting, maybe you're a window painting expert, leave them below for me. If I were able to just buy whatever I wanted to make this happen, I think I would have gotten those like white Sharpie pens to do this as well, especially like the nice thick chunky ones. So maybe in the future I'll try those as well. But like I said, for this time I just used some watered down acrylic paint because it washes off really easily, and then my Ohuhu acrylic paint pen, which also worked really nicely to allow me to draw really thin controlled lines. So yeah, if you have tips, drop them below. Or let me know what you think about how these turned out. I'm going to give you a little view of them here in just a second. So here they are. I think they're so cute. And I also then hung some fun little gems above the artwork. So there's like some crystals that kind of create rainbows in the space when the sun shines through these windows. And I think it just feels so magical. Here is my outside signs that I created. And then the painted door. It went from white to green. The owner had some green, and I think that turned out so cute. Okay, here we are doing some really fun task work of pricing the new art supplies that are going to go over on that shelf, along with the coloring books and some watercolor paper. So I have things like colored pencils, watercolor pencils, water-soluble pastels, some alcohol markers. So I've got an assortment of things that people can try and also create a gift for somebody, like a full-on gift. You can get the coloring book along with some supplies to go with it. So I think that just is going to make this feel more like a full gift shop to me. You can get some art supplies along with your art and coloring books, and yeah, it just felt like a really good fit, or a first good step towards making this a true shop. All right, so let's take a look around at the finished studio, or finished for now, I should say. This is how things are currently looking. It feels really good to have this space, kind of unreal. I've got some new stationery in here now with my artwork on it, the greeting cards, the stickers, some little trinket dishes I made, original artwork, coloring books, journals, bookmarks, art supplies, some mugs, original paintings, art prints. And it's just starting to fill up really nicely and look really cute. So like I said, I had my soft opening this last weekend, and this was how the shop was looking. Here's some ornaments and original paintings. I am officially opening up to private art classes like that little sign said. I have things in the window. That was a freebie table with coloring pages and candy during the event. It was a Halloween event in our town. So here it is. So welcome to the Owl's Nest. If you ever make it to Crystal Falls and you want to pop in, send me a message and I'll try to make sure I'm open one of the days that you're here. Right now it's just going to be open when I'm in there working. I'll have the sign out and the lights on. So I hope to meet a lot of magical souls very soon inside. Thank you so much for joining me for this kind of chaotic studio tour, but that's just how my brain works. She's a little messy, but that's okay. Now finally, here is a look from the outside. If you're walking down the main street, you'll pass the Twisted Twig, and then right next to her is the Owl's Nest, and here is my storefront and how it looks now. So come on in. I will be very happy to meet you and talk all things art with you. Thank you so much for being here.